Okay, so good evening, class. Today we are going to study about our novel, Dear Mr Kilmer. Do you guys remember it from the previous class? Yes. You guys want to recap back on what we learned? So Dear Mr Kilmer the author is Anne Scarf and the genre is teenagers. Do you guys want to watch videos or you want me to just explain it for you? Videos, okay. Pay attention, okay?
The ground was covered in snow and it was cold. Pa had decided it was a good day for hunting. Richard Knight did not like hunting, unlike his brother Gus. He didn't like the thought of killing something if he can avoid it. They sat huddled and hiding in the bank of the stream. Richard prayed they would not spot any deer, but unfortunately a handsome young buck stepped towards the pool bank where they were hiding. Pa signaled Richard to raise his gun and shoot. Richard didn't know what to do. He raised his gun and fired. He missed. Gus got really mad. Pa shut him up and asked him to go back to the cabin. After that, he gave Richard this disappointed look and asked why he had missed on purpose. "Because I hate killing things, Pa," said Richard. "Death is a part of life, Richard. We have to remember that," Pa said in almost a whisper. On the way home, Gus was talking non-stop about his favorite topic, the war that had been raging in Europe since 1914. He wanted to sign up to be a soldier. Pa looked at him sternly and emphasized that none of his boys are allowed to go to war until they have finished school. Richard was somewhat glad to hear that amidst Gus' protest. Back at home, Richard helped his sister Angie with the dishes after dinner. Richard thought she looked tired and exhausted. She had to be the one to take over Ma's chores after she passed away. Rather than be sad, Angie was very sympathetic and patient, especially towards their father. Richard had a secret no one knew, not even his family. Richard loves poetry. He would write poems whenever he was sad. He felt it took away some of the sadness. After talking with Angie about Pa and recalling back what happened during the deer hunt and thinking about the loss of his mother and uncle, Richard wrote a few lines to cheer himself up. Richard hid his new poem among all the others he had written before. He did not want anyone to know he writes poetry. People already thought he was strange enough as it is. The next day at school, Mrs. Hanson, the English teacher, read a poem from Joyce Kilmer called The Tree. Richard was mesmerized. He knew about poets like Shakespeare and Lord Byron, but they used fancy language. This poem was simple and straightforward, much like his own poetry. Richard saw pretty Hannah Shermer from a distance. She was crying. Somebody had scribbled the word Dirty Hun on her book. Richard was shocked. Why would anyone do such a thing to a nice girl like Hannah? His friends seemed to think her family is siding with the enemy in this war. Richard felt so dismayed. He went home. When Richard got home, he decided to read Joyce Kilmer's book Trees and Other Poems he had borrowed from Mrs. Hanson. Richard felt the poems were speaking directly to him. He decided to write Mr. Kilmer a letter. Of course, he did not expect a reply. Why would a famous writer be bothered with a farm boy? 3 weeks later, something terrible happened to Hannah. Some people had vandalized the tavern her family owned. They painted terrible words on the wall. Mrs. Hanson suggested the class give her a card as a show of sympathy, but no one would sign the card, all except Richard. He did not hesitate. In fact, he thought it was disgusting they were harassed for being German. When Richard came to give the card, Hannah gave him the cold treatment. Richard was hurt. It was as if Hannah had blamed him for the vandalism too. But in a way, he could not blame her. Richard walked away, despondent and sad. Suddenly, he felt silly for giving her a card. What can it do? Whenever Richard felt sad, he likes to climb an old oak tree near his home and watch the train come by. He observed the smiling faces getting in and out of the train and wondered if such happy people would be so unkind to treat the Shermers this way. When he got home, there was a surprise for Richard. Mr. Kilmer had written back. In the letter, Mr. Kilmer had advised Richard to be brave and to let people know he writes poetry. Richard decided he would tell his family during dinner. When Richard had finished telling his family about Joyce Kilmer and his love for writing poetry, Pa just replied that he did not think poetry would be of any use. Gus thought it was sissy stuff, and they both started to talk about other things. Richard was hurt. He went to his room without saying any more. Summer holidays came. Richard spent his time working hard on the farm. As much as he loves writing poetry, he loves farming even more. He worked side by side with Pa, but they hardly spoke of anything. Richard had so many things he wanted to ask his father, but there was always this closed chapter between Pa and his past. Hannah and Richard had been getting along closer. It seems that Richard was the only one who did not look at the Shermers with prejudice. Richard even had dinner with them and he talked to Mr. and Mrs. Shermer about poetry. They made him feel accepted. But trouble was brewing at home for Richard. Pa was not happy that Richard was getting too friendly with the Shermers. He told Richard to stay away from them because they look out for their own. Richard got upset and told Pa that is ridiculous. Pa responded saying all those poetry was filling Richard's head with funny ideas. Richard had never felt more dismayed. After that incident, it did not change Richard's relationship with Hannah and her parents. In fact, he went to their house regularly to talk about a lot of things, both happy and sad. Richard also continued writing to Mr. Kilmer. Mr. Kilmer's letters made Richard happy, and he helped Richard to improve his writing. One day, Gus came home and made a surprising announcement. He had enlisted himself and will leave for training the next day. Pa was stunned. After a few moments, he fell into a rage and yelled at Gus for doing such a stupid thing. Gus was angry and hurt. The next day, Gus got ready to leave home. He and Pa could not even muster a proper goodbye to each other. As Gus walked away, Richard felt an aching sadness. He might never see his brother again. Bad news kept coming. After Richard received his last letter from Mr. Kilmer, it had encouraged Richard tremendously, but a question rose in Richard's mind. What can poets or poetry do to make the world better? He wrote this question in his letter, but before he could mail it, news came that Joyce Kilmer had been killed. Richard was heartbroken. He stole away to his oak tree before bursting into tears. The anguish and sorrow he felt for losing a friend he had never even met. Richard felt he could never write another poem. What will it do? What can poetry do to make the world better? That question, now, it seems, will never be answered. Even as he felt like giving up, words seemed to flow from Richard's mind. He picked up a pen and paper and started to compose a tribute poem. He called it In Memory of Sergeant Joyce Kilmer. Richard shared this poem with the Shermers. They insisted Richard send it to the papers to be printed. Richard should share this poem with everyone who had lost a husband, son, brother, father, or friend in the war. Richard was scared at the idea, but eventually he agreed. He was more afraid of what would happen if his father found out. Tuesday morning came. Richard had somehow hoped the paper would not print his poem, but as he turned to page 3, he saw the words "In Memory of Sergeant Joyce Kilmer" by Richard Knight, printed plainly for all to see. Richard's heart sank. He knew his father would see the poem. When Richard got home a while later, his father came up to his room to talk to him. Pa had read the poem. He wanted to talk to Richard about his brother Roland, who died in the war with Spain. Pa hated that Roland never wanted to stay at the farm, much like Gus. When Roland got killed, the papers reported slight casualties. Pa remembered when Roland was lowered to the ground. Pa kept saying in his heart, "A world is gone. A world is dead and gone." Pa covered his face and wept. At last, Richard understood why poems are so important. But what was more important is that Richard now understood why he wrote them. The war came to an end. Things at the farm went back to normal with a few exceptions. Richard's poems now appear regularly on the papers. But what's better was that now he would read his poems to his father after dinner every night. Pa would sometimes give his opinion. Other times he would nod and say that was really good.
So the video cannot be played. So I will just read it for you guys, okay? Very simple explanation. Who is the main character for this story? Do you guys remember? Richard Knight. So Richard Knight he loved poetry, but his family, especially his father and brother, does not like him to read and wrote poetry because they want him to do manly stuff like hunting and killing animals and other stuff like that. And then there's a girl named Hannah Skinner that is a German immigrant, and she's been bullied in the school. So there, Richard helps the girl and stand up for her. Then, when the class needs someone to decorate the tree for Christmas party, Richard is the only one who supports Hannah. He also chooses to sit with her at the party, showing courage to stand up for what is right. Richard writes letter to Joyce Kilmer, the poet that he loved, who replies with encouraging messages that strengthen Richard's confidence in being himself. Later, Richard received the sad news that Mr. Kilmer has died in the war, and Richard is heartbroken, but he is determined to express his feelings through poetry and continue following his path, just as Mr. Kilmer advised. Okay, so when you look at the tree, not that tree, you see, what do you feel? How do you symbolize a tree? How do you symbolize a tree in your life? What does it mean, a tree? Growth. Yes, and then? What? It's about many leaves. Have many. That is from what you see. I want what you feel about trees. Oxygen. Not the answer that I want. Something more emotional, like feeling your feelings. Huh? Protective, yes. And then? Is that the thing? Talking about growth, talking about trees. It's about... It's about freedom, it's about strength, because trees have roots, very strong roots, right? That helps them to stand up from themselves. Okay, so can you guys maybe get a hint from what I will do today? We will write a poem. That is That is what I told you just now. Okay, so when we see a tree, I want you guys to, here it says they decorate a Christmas tree, but imagine this is a Christmas tree, but it doesn't have leaves. So I want you guys to take one leaf and write your own poem, then paste it, you decorate this tree, okay? And what I want you guys to write in the poem is the themes or moral values. Do you guys remember what is the moral values of the story? No? No, okay, let me recap that. Do you want to write themes or moral values? Moral values, okay. So can somebody read it for me for the first one? Volunteer, anyone? Viviana, yes.
The moral value is empathy. Richard feels sorry for Hannah when she
Is bullied.
bullied and chooses to support her instead of following the crowd.
Crowd. Okay, good job. Okay, next one. Anyone? Claudina? Don't bully your classmate, okay?
Okay, sure.
Oh, okay, Vision.
Perseverance. Richard continues to write poetry even when his fathers and brothers want him to do manly activities instead.
Okay, good job. Then tolerance. Claudina.
Tolerance is Richard accepts Hannah and her family although they are German, showing that he doesn't judge based on nationality.
Okay, then family love. Okay.
Mrs. Knight comforted Richard and encouraged him to be himself, showing love and support.
Okay, so you guys know what is the moral values. Now I want you guys to write a poem based on the moral values that you have read, or maybe you have another idea that is depend on your creativity. Okay, so each one of you take one. One the biggest one, the small one. You guys write it using markers. You guys have markers?
Yes.
We have. Take your time, don't rush. Read from other sources also. I think you guys need to read it out loud. You guys wrote. Are you guys done?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good job. Okay, so I want each one of you come to front and read your poem. So who wants to start first?
Winnie Jabut.
Winnie Jabut. Come. Tell us what you have wrote.
I don't know if it's correct or not. I just write it.
Okay. Let's give it a try.
In every every hug, in every smile, family love make life worthwhile. Through stormy days and skies of grey, their warmth and care light up the way.
Okay, give a clap to Winnie Jaboy. Yeah. So one leaf is on the tree already. So the next one, Claudina. Okay, come forward. Read to us.
In the quiet space between your heartbeat and mine, there is a middle white, enough for both of us to stand to listen.
Can you explain what it's about?
This is more about the relationship and the understanding, as also related with the tolerance, which it mentions about middle white, enough for both of us. Okay.
About Richard and Hannah, is it?
Yes.
Okay, I see. You can paste it there. Give a clap to Claudina. Okay. Next.
She keep calling.
Yeah, I think she's a bully, so let's come in front, baby Anna. Push.
So this is my poem. A selfish heart may seek it gains, but giving love erase all the pain. Share what you have, a smile. A peaceful heart is yours.
So what is it about?
So I think it's more to tolerate. I think because it's selfish.
Selfish.
No, we cannot be selfish.
Okay.
Like you.
I like you. Nah.
No, we don't know. If no, we don't.
Give her a clap, even though she always call you guys.
Stick it higher.
Next.
We
To
don't.
left. Come on. Let's fill in the trees, guys.
We June.
Okay, I'll go.
So for my poem is, that's the way to learn each day. Instead, are there to help us learn. Don't give up when you make a wrong turn. Keep on trying.
Okay, so give a clap to her. Place it there. Okay. Last but not least, Winnie Sim.
So I choose the moral values of family love. Family is a place of care. Smiles and hugs are always there. Hand in hand we rise above, and home is where we learn to love.
Okay, good job. Give her a clap. So there goes our Christmas tree poetry. And just like this tree was full of branches and very dusty and old tree, but now it is decorated with your poems, with your moral values. So which moral values will you take and bring into your life? Which one?
Family love.
Family love.
Why?
We love our family.
Okay. Okay, so that is all from me.